Stat man Donovan Mitchell scored 45. What do you think about his performance to start the season?
He's a superstar, Jacoby, and he's already proven so this very young in his career. The same way when you look around the league and you see franchise-changing players like a Luka Doncic or a Ja Morant or a Zion Williamson, so many great young talented players, Trae Young. I could go on and on and on about the young players that have distinguished themselves so very young in their career. He's not only done that for the regular season as the Jazz had the #1 seed and broke the record for threes made per average per game, but also he's done it in the playoffs. He's had a 57-point game last year in the bubble. It was really his battle against Jamal Murray was epic. He was 15th this year in the MVP voting. Usually somebody that's on the #1 seeded team in the best conference, and currently that's the Western Conference, they get more love than that. But he turns his game up on this stage, and he does it in all facets. In particular without Mike Conley. When he has that ball in his hands, he's more electric. I know you can't just take the ball away from Conley because he's a seasoned vet. He flirted with a triple-double. He also needs the ball. But when Donovan has it, and he can play make for himself and for others, and he can pick and choose his spot, and his three ball is going, he's shown to be virtually unstoppable. He was the reason, literally, they won game 1. A superstar player playing the way he played against another 40-point performance versus the vaunted Clippers defense on the perimeter?
Yeah. We saw Luka do it last round, and it was Mitchell last night. But one person who needs to be pointed out, the gentleman by the name of Paul George, he was hearing overrated chants. He started the game like 2 for 12. He was part of the Clippers' comeback. We have to give him credit for that. But Paul George, from once in a while in the playoffs, just has tough games. Why do you think that is?
There are two audiences as public figures that we entertain, as athletes, as media personalities. There's the linear audience, and then there's the social media audience. Like, every time somebody's trying to create something, they're trying to think of how to satisfy both of those audiences. And there are people that are liked by the linear audience, but are disliked by the social media audience. And there are people that are disliked by both, and or vice versa. Soon as Paul George starts struggling in a game, once he told the world that his nickname was Playoff P, now all of a sudden when he struggles, Playoff P is trending for all of the wrong reasons. Pandemic P is trending for all of the wrong reasons. When you're an all-NBA performer and you have multiple games where you shot under 25%, the audience is going to pay attention to that. And so you're right to point out the fact that Paul George can't be pedestrian if the Clippers are even going to make this a long series.
You mentioned earlier about the Jazz being the #1 seed, about how they broke the record for 3 points per game. But one thing that they don't get enough credit for is their defense. They were the #1 seed for a reason. One of those reasons was that defense. And that is also one of the reasons that Paul George struggled. And when people talk about the Jazz defense, they talk about one man, Rudy Gobert. But as you saw last night, it was a full team effort to limit Kawhi Leonard. Remember what Kawhi Leonard did games 5, 6, and 7 against the Mavs? To limit Paul George, to make things difficult for them. I love the Jazz defensive effort that they had last night, and I think that is what will propel them to make it difficult for the Clippers. But Jalen, holistically about this series, I don't know who's going to win. I think we're going to get 6 or 7 out of this one, don't you?
I believe the Jazz will win. I anticipate a long series, because they have so many guys like a Jordan Clarkson, who's going to be 6th Man of the Year, who are fearless. Like the Utah Jazz missed 20 straight shots in the first half. Found a way with that defense that you just highlighted to shoot themselves back into the game. And that level of cohesion of a core group of players playing together with Ingles and Bogdanovich and these guys that have been in the trenches together the last handful of years, and Favors and Gobert, you're able, and the same head coach who's done a terrific job of nurturing his team, and Quinn Snyder, you now can draw on your principles. And that's what I saw versus a Clippers team that's still searching for an identity. It's a new series. Now, you're giving more minutes to Patrick Beverly. You're giving more minutes to Boogie, because what happens is you got to now walk into the locker room and tell those vets, hey, y'all got to stay ready. I know I didn't use y'all in the first series, but I'm going to need y'all going forward. So now you're watching the game and they playing 12 players to start the game. You're like, whoa, what happened? Well, they just had a 7-game series and they got to keep those guys engaged. So those things worked in the Utah Jazz favor also.